Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Luke was still very young when he first felt a pull towards things not typically associated with boys his age. It wasn't something he could easily put into words at that young age. It was more of a gentle nudge, a silent whisper in his mind that made him feel different from his classmates. His first encounter with this difference was at his cousin's birthday party. The party was a lively event, filled with the usual chaos of excited children. But amidst the noise and festivities, Luke's eyes were drawn to a corner of the room where his cousin's new dolls were on display. They were dressed in vibrant dresses, their hair styled in intricate ways that fascinated him. He felt an inexplicable connection to these dolls, a longing to engage with them, to be part of their colorful, expressive world. At home, Luke's room was a stark contrast to the doll-filled paradise he had seen at the party. His walls were adorned with posters of superheroes and race cars, typical for a boy his age. But deep inside, he yearned for something else, something that echoed the feeling he had when he saw those dolls. One day, while playing in his sister's room, Luke found a box full of her old clothes. The fabrics were softer, more colorful, and more appealing than anything he had in his own wardrobe. He was particularly drawn to a pink frilly skirt. It wasn't just the color or the fabric that attracted him. It was the way it seemed to promise a different kind of expression, a way to show a part of himself that he couldn't with his own clothes. When he was alone, Luke would sometimes try on these clothes. It was his secret. He would stand in front of the mirror looking at his reflection, feeling a mix of happiness and confusion. It was a complex feeling for a child his age, a sense of fitting into the clothes, but not entirely fitting into the expectations of the world around him. At school, Luke noticed another difference. He found himself gravitating towards friendships with girls. With them, he felt a sense of belonging. They talked about things that interested him more than the typical boyish games his male classmates played. He enjoyed their company, finding comfort in their conversations, the way they played, and even the simple act of sitting together during lunch. One particular memory stood out to Luke. It was during a school play where he saw one of his female friends dressed as a princess. She wore a beautiful dress, and her hair was styled in a way that reminded him of the dolls at his cousin's birthday party. He felt a pang of envy, not of her role in the play, but of how natural she looked, how the dress seemed like a perfect extension of herself. As Luke grew older, these feelings didn't fade, but grew stronger. He started to realize that this wasn't just a phase or a simple preference for certain toys or clothes. It was something deeper, a fundamental part of who he was. But he kept these feelings to himself, worried about how his family, especially his parents, would react. His father was a traditional man, firm in his beliefs about what boys should like and how they should behave. Luke often heard him make offhand comments about men needing to be tough and manly. These remarks only added to Luke's fear of being misunderstood and rejected. Luke's mother was kinder and more understanding, but he still hesitated to share his feelings with her. He feared disrupting the peace in their home, of causing a rift in his family that he wasn't sure could be mended. So he kept his true self hidden, tucked away like the dresses in his sister's old box of clothes, waiting for a time when he could be free to express who he really was. As Luke entered his teenage years, these feelings of being different, of wanting to express a part of himself that he had kept hidden, only intensified. He knew that soon he would have to face these feelings head-on, to figure out who he was and how to share that person with the world. It was a daunting prospect, but deep down, he knew it was one he couldn't avoid forever. In his room, Luke had a small mirror. He would often stand in front of it, looking at himself, imagining how he would look if he were a girl. He wondered how it would feel to have long hair, to wear dresses and skirts every day, and to do makeup. In his mind, he saw a different version of himself, one that made him feel happy and true. Luke started to learn more about makeup and clothes on his own. He would watch videos online, learning how to apply lipstick and eyeshadow, how to choose outfits that girls his age liked to wear. He was amazed by the world of fashion and beauty. It was like discovering a secret language that he had always wanted to speak. One day, when he was sure he was alone at home, Luke decided to try on some makeup. He found his mother's makeup bag and carefully started to apply some lipstick. He was nervous but excited. The lipstick was a bright shade of pink, and as he put it on, he felt a thrill. He then tried some eyeshadow, choosing a soft purple color. It was difficult at first, but he remembered the techniques he had seen online. After the makeup, Luke opened the wardrobe. He chose a dress that he had always admired. It was a pretty dress with flowers on it and a soft, flowing skirt. He put it on and looked at himself in the mirror. For the first time, he saw a glimpse of the girl he felt like inside. He felt right, like he was finally seeing the real him. But then he heard a noise. His heart raced as he quickly took off the dress and wiped off the makeup. He had been so absorbed in his transformation that he hadn't heard his parents come back home. That was a close call, and it scared him. He realized how hard it would be to keep this secret from his parents, especially his dad. Luke's dad was a kind man, but he had very firm ideas about boys and girls. He often told Luke to be strong and tough, like a real boy should be. Luke knew that his dad wouldn't understand his feelings, and that scared him. He didn't want to disappoint his dad or make him angry. His mom was different. She was gentler and seemed to understand things without needing them to be explained. Luke sometimes thought about telling her his secret, but he was afraid. He didn't want to upset her or change the way she saw him. He loved his mom and didn't want to lose her. So Luke kept his feelings to himself. He continued to explore his identity in secret, waiting for the right time to tell his parents. He hoped that one day he could be honest with them to show them who he really was. Each day, he felt more and more like he was living in two worlds. In one world, he was the son his parents thought they had. In the other world, he was the girl he knew he was inside. It was a tough situation for a teenager to be in, and he often felt alone and confused. But Luke was also strong. He knew that understanding himself was important, and he was determined to find a way to be true to himself, no matter how hard it might be. He believed that one day he would be able to show everyone the real him, the girl he knew he was meant to be. After much thinking, Luke decided it was time to tell his parents the truth. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he couldn't keep hiding who he really was. The idea made him nervous, but deep down, he knew it was the right thing to do. He planned to show his parents his true self. He waited for a day when he knew they would both be home and have time to talk. He wanted to make sure they understood this was a big part of who he was, not just a momentary idea. On the day he had chosen, he spent hours getting ready. First, he carefully did his makeup, just like he had practiced so many times in secret. He applied foundation to smooth out his skin, then added a bit of blush for a natural-looking glow. He was careful with the eyeliner, wanting to get it just right. Finally, he chose a lipstick that was a soft shade of pink, perfect for showing his parents the real him. Next, Luke picked out his outfit. He chose a skirt and a matching top from his sister's wardrobe, clothes he had admired but never dared to wear in front of anyone. The skirt was a light green color with small white flowers on it, and the top was white with short sleeves. He looked at himself in the mirror and felt a sense of pride. He was finally going to show his parents the real him. With his heart beating fast, Luke walked into the living room where his parents were sitting. The moment they saw him, their expressions changed. His mom looked surprised but curious, while his dad's face showed confusion and disbelief. "Mom, Dad," Luke said, his voice shaking a little. "I have something important to tell you. This is who I am. Inside, I've always felt like a girl. I know this might be hard to understand, but it's the truth. I'm not happy pretending to be a boy. I'm a girl, and I want to live as one." There was silence for a moment. Then his mom, with a look of concern, asked, "Are you sure about this, Luke? Is this really how you feel?" "Yes, Mom," Luke replied. "I've felt this way for as long as I can remember. I just want to be myself, to be happy." Luke's dad, however, looked upset. He stood up from his chair, his face red with anger. "This is nonsense," he said loudly. "You're a boy, not a girl." You can't just decide to change who you are." Luke felt tears starting to form in his eyes. This was what he had been afraid of. His dad didn't understand, didn't want to understand. He wanted to explain more, to make his dad see how important this was to him, but he was too upset to speak. Without another word, Luke's dad left the room, slamming the door behind him. Luke stood there, feeling like his world had just fallen apart. His mom came over to him and put her arm around his shoulder. "I don't understand all of this," she said gently, "but we'll figure this out together." But Luke couldn't stop thinking about his dad's reaction. He had hoped for understanding, maybe even support, but instead he had seen anger and rejection. Feeling heartbroken, Luke went to his room and closed the door. He lay on his bed, crying, feeling more alone than ever. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Luke didn't come out of his room, not even for dinner. He could hear his parents talking in the living room, but he couldn't make out what they were saying. He just lay there, feeling lost and scared about the future. The next day, Luke stayed in his room again. He didn't want to face his dad, didn't know what to say to him. He felt trapped in a situation with no easy answers. But then there was a knock on his door. It was his mom. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. Luke wiped his eyes and sat up. "Yes," he said. His mom came in and sat next to him on the bed. "I've been thinking a lot about what you told us," she said. "I want to understand, to help you. Tell me more about how you feel, about what you want." So Luke told his mom everything. He told her about how he had always felt like a girl, about how wearing boys' clothes and pretending to be someone he wasn't made him unhappy. He told her about his dreams of being able to be himself, to live as the girl he knew he was. His mom listened quietly, nodding now and then. When Luke finished, she hugged him. "I don't know much about this," she said, "but I love you and I want you to be happy. We'll figure this out together, okay?" Luke felt a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things would be okay after all. After the talk with his mom, Luke, who now preferred to be called Lucia, started to feel a tiny bit better. His mom didn't fully understand everything, but she was trying, and that meant a lot to Lucia. However, the thought of facing her dad again filled her with worry. She knew he was upset and didn't approve of her wanting to live as a girl. For the next few days, Lucia stayed mostly in her room. She was scared of what her dad might say or do if he saw her dressed as she truly wanted. It was a hard time for her, filled with lots of mixed feelings. She was happy to finally be herself, but also sad and scared because of her dad's reaction. During this time, Lucia's mom became her biggest supporter. She would come to Lucia's room when Dad was not around, and they would talk for hours. Lucia shared her feelings and dreams with her mom, and her mom listened carefully, always trying to understand. One day, Lucia's mom brought a surprise, a bag full of makeup and some new clothes for Lucia. She had gone out and bought them just for her. Lucia felt a burst of happiness. It was the first time she had her own clothes and makeup, not just things she borrowed from her sister. They spent the afternoon trying everything on. Lucia's mom helped her with the makeup, showing her how to apply it so that it looked natural and pretty. They laughed and talked as they tried different outfits. For a few hours, Lucia felt free and happy, like she was finally living the life she always wanted. The new clothes were beautiful. There were skirts, tops, and a dress that Lucia absolutely loved. It was a soft shade of yellow with little white flowers on it. When she put it on, she felt like she was glowing. It was a perfect moment, just Lucia and her mom enjoying their time together. But they had to be careful. Whenever they heard Lucia's dad coming, they would quickly hide everything and pretend like nothing was happening. It was like their little secret, a secret world where Lucia could be herself. As days turned into weeks, Lucia and her mom continued their secret dress-up sessions. They became closer than ever, sharing a bond that was special and strong. Lucia felt grateful to have her mom's support, but the situation with her dad weighed heavily on her mind. She wished he could understand and accept her like her mom did. One evening, while Lucia was in her room, she overheard her parents talking. Her dad's voice was loud and angry. He couldn't understand why Lucia wanted to live as a girl. He thought it was a phase or something she would get over. Lucia's heart sank. It hurt to hear her dad say those things, to know that he didn't accept her for who she was. That night, Lucia lay in bed, feeling more confused and sad than ever. She wanted her dad to love and accept her, just like her mom did. But she also knew that she couldn't change who she was. She was a girl, and that was her truth, even if her dad couldn't see it. In the days that followed, Lucia tried to be strong. She focused on the good things, like the fun times with her mom and how good it felt to express herself as a girl. But the sadness about her dad was always there, like a dark cloud hanging over her. One sunny Saturday, Lucia and her mom planned a special day out. They decided to go shopping at the mall together. It was a big step for Lucia, her first time out in public, dressed as she truly felt. She was nervous, but also really excited. That morning, Lucia dressed in one of her favorite outfits. She chose a light blue skirt and a white top with little butterflies on it. Her mom helped her with her hair, tying it back in a neat ponytail. With a bit of makeup, Lucia felt ready to face the day. The mall was busy with people walking around, shopping, and talking. Lucia felt a bit scared at first, being around so many people, but her mom was right there beside her, smiling and chatting, making Lucia feel safe. They visited several clothing stores, looking at all the different styles of dresses, skirts, and tops. Lucia tried on lots of outfits, twirling in front of the mirror in each one. Her mom helped her pick out clothes that looked nice and felt comfortable. One of the best moments was when they found a dress that Lucia absolutely loved. It was a pretty shade of pink with a floral pattern. When she tried it on, she felt like a princess. Her mom's eyes lit up when she saw Lucia in the dress. "You look beautiful," she said, and Lucia felt her heart swell with happiness. After clothes shopping, they went to a shoe store. Lucia found a pair of shoes that matched perfectly with her new pink dress. They were flat shoes with a small bow on the front, just right for someone her age. They also stopped at a little jewelry shop. Lucia picked out a simple necklace with a small heart pendant. It was a special reminder of the day, a day when she felt free and happy. For lunch, they went to Lucia's favorite restaurant in the mall. They sat and ate, talking about all sorts of things. It was like any other mother-daughter day out, and Lucia felt a sense of normalcy, of just being herself. When it was time to head home, Lucia felt a bit sad that the day was ending, but she was also full of joy from all the fun she and her mom had. They walked back to the car, carrying their shopping bags, both smiling and talking about their next outing. As they drove home, Lucia looked out the window, thinking about the day. She felt a mix of emotions, happy, but also a bit scared about going back to the reality of her life at home, especially with her dad. When they arrived home, they were surprised to see Lucia's dad's car in the driveway. He was home earlier than expected. Lucia's heart started to beat faster. She wasn't ready to face him, not yet. They walked into the house, and Lucia's dad was in the living room. He looked up and saw them, his eyes going wide with surprise. For a moment, everyone was silent. Then her dad's face changed from surprise to anger. "What is this?" he asked, looking at Lucia and her mom. "Why is he dressed like that?" Lucia's mom stepped in. "We went shopping," she said calmly. "Lucia needed some new clothes." Her dad shook his head. "This isn't right. He's a boy, not a girl." Lucia felt tears in her eyes. She wanted her dad to understand, to see how happy she was. But he just seemed angry and confused. Her mom tried to explain, telling him how much happier Lucia was living as herself. But her dad couldn't seem to accept it. The room was filled with tension, and Lucia felt like she wanted to disappear. But then her dad looked at Lucia, really looked at her. For the first time, he seemed to see the happiness on her face, the joy that being herself brought her. His expression softened just a little bit. "I don't understand this," he said slowly, "but at least you're happy." In the weeks that followed the shopping day, things at home started to change slowly. Lucia's dad didn't suddenly become understanding or accepting, but he also didn't get as angry as before. He was quiet, watching Lucia with a curious but confused look. Lucia continued to wear the clothes she liked and do her makeup, even when her dad was around. At first, it was really scary. She worried about what he would say or do. But he mostly stayed silent, just looking at her from time to time. Her mom was always there, a quiet support for both Lucia and her dad. She would talk to him, trying to explain how Lucia felt, why this was important for her happiness. Lucia could hear them sometimes, their voices low in the living room or kitchen. Lucia noticed small changes in her dad's behavior. He stopped making comments about her clothes or makeup. Sometimes he even asked her simple questions like how her day was or if she needed anything. It wasn't much, but it was a big change from before. One evening, Lucia was sitting at the dinner table with her parents. It was a normal night, with her mom chatting about her day at work and her dad listening quietly. Lucia was wearing one of her new dresses, a light purple one with short sleeves. Out of nowhere, her dad asked, "Do you like that dress, Lucia?" His voice was hesitant, unsure. Lucia was surprised but nodded. "Yes, I really like it. It's my favorite color." Her dad nodded and went back to eating. It wasn't a big conversation, but it was the first time he had called her Lucia and talked about her clothes. It felt like a small victory, a tiny step towards being accepted. Over the next few months, these small moments happened more often. Lucia's dad would ask her questions about school or her friends. He still seemed unsure about everything, but he was trying in his own way. Lucia felt a mix of relief and hope. It was hard to know that her dad didn't fully understand or accept her yet, but she was happy that he was trying. She knew it would take time for him to see her as she really was. Her mom continued to be her biggest support. They would still have their secret dress-up sessions, laughing and talking together. But now, they didn't have to hide as much. They could be more open, even when Lucia's dad was home. One day, Lucia's dad came home with a small gift for her. It was a simple bracelet, nothing fancy, but it meant the world to Lucia. It was a sign that her dad was making an effort, that he cared about her, even if he didn't fully understand. Life at home wasn't perfect, but it was getting better. Lucia felt more comfortable being herself, and her parents were learning to understand her better. There were still hard days, times when Lucia felt sad or frustrated, but there were also good days, days when she felt happy and hopeful about the future. Lucia knew that her journey was just beginning. There would be more challenges, more moments of doubt and fear. But she also knew that she had her mom's love and her dad's growing acceptance. That was enough to give her the strength to keep going, to keep being true to herself. As the months went by, Lucia started to feel more confident, more like the person she was meant to be. She was becoming happier, more comfortable in her own skin. And even though her dad didn't say much, Lucia could feel his love and care in his small gestures and efforts to understand. It was a slow process, but Lucia was patient. She knew that acceptance and understanding sometimes took time. She was just happy to be moving forward, to be living as her true self, with her family by her side. Lucia's mom was still her rock, always there to support her, to talk with her, and to help her feel confident. They had grown even closer, sharing not just clothes and makeup, but also lots of laughs and deep talks about life. One of the most important steps in Lucia's journey was starting hormone therapy. It was a big decision, and she had spent a lot of time talking about it with her parents and doctors. When the day finally came to start the therapy, Lucia felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. Her parents went with her to the doctor's office. It was a quiet place with friendly staff who made Lucia feel comfortable. The doctor explained everything carefully, making sure Lucia and her parents understood what the therapy would do and how it would help Lucia. As Lucia sat there, getting her first hormone treatment, she felt like she was finally taking a big step towards being her true self. It was scary, but also really exciting. Her mom held her hand, giving her a reassuring squeeze. And even her dad had a look of quiet support on his face. Over the next several months, Lucia began to see changes in herself. Her body started to look more like the way she felt inside. She felt happier, more at peace with herself. Her parents noticed the change too. They saw how much happier and more confident Lucia was becoming. Her dad, who had once been so unsure and confused, now looked at her with love and pride. He didn't say much, but Lucia knew he accepted her, that he saw her as his daughter. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.